you have a Magento with ScandiPWA, you install our modules, then you're done. Then it works super cool. Show you some details of what we do, what we have been doing, and how our Magento 2 and ScandiPWA integration looks. If you have any questions during the talk, feel free to drop something in the chat. I already saw that we have a whole army of MultiSafePay colleagues looking there as well. So drop us a comment. If you don't do it now, you can always find us on LinkedIn. We are on GitHub. Just go there and look for us. So to begin, I want to give you all a little refresher about what again is a payment service provider. Ronald's already mentioned it 8 minutes ago, but I understand that 8 minutes is a long time. So here we go. Imagine you have a web shop, for example, in ScandiPWA, and you need to offer some ways of payments. You have all these payment methods in mind. Then you can, of course, you can connect to them. You can get your contracts with them. And well, will of course take a lot of time when you have more than one payment method. So that's where we come in. We as MultiSafePay, we do the technical integration with the payment methods, and we also do the contracts. And then you can do single contracts, single technical implementation for multiple payment methods. That's why we're here, and that's why people like us that much. So where did this start? I need to take you back to the 90s. So this is the late 90s. This is Amsterdam. This is the vibe we were in. E-commerce was new, online was new, and our CEO, Olaf, he had a vision, and he understood how to connect to payment methods, but he also understood how to make it easier. Back then, there was not a lot of different ways to pay online. You had the bank transfer and credit cards and some small things around it that were not really that important back then. So what Olaf did, he built a platform, and you connected to that platform, and he would automate stuff for you. He would save you money. Doing bank transfers was really costly back then because people were actually manually checking everything, going through all the payments, and that was not necessary anymore. Something that looks so trivial right now, automated payments, wasn't back then. Also, e-commerce looked a lot different back then. So this is one of the bigger examples of e-commerce in that time. This is NetMarket. And basically, this is a good example of what was going on back then. You had these huge enterprises with a lot of money, a lot of cash, and they would make e-commerce websites available for customers. This is not something that was available for the smaller merchants, even not the medium-sized merchants, only for the big ones. They would write their own integration with a payment service provider, and that way they would be able to do credit cards, bank transfer, pay by phone, mail order, telephone order, those kind of things. But it was always a big investment, or a relatively big investment, to get that up and running, to build your e-commerce site and to build the integration with all the partners you had. Then around the turn of the century, something cool came up, OS commerce. And basically OS commerce, yes, it's not very relevant at this moment in time anymore, but they were a real game changer. OS commerce, well, the name says it already, is an open source e-commerce solution. And basically the rise of OS commerce made e-commerce available for big and small merchants. So now even the shop around the corner could start their own web shop, and they could also compete online. This really grew the size of e-commerce, these kind of solutions. Now it was not only the big players, but everybody could join in. The problem was the people that use OS commerce or used OS commerce, they did not have the money to invest in also creating a payment solution. And that's where OS commerce was built in a really clever way, because they could not build one system that worked for everybody, but they came up with extensibility. And this extensibility allowed people to mix and match components and connect to whatever they needed to connect to. However, these components still needed to be made for OS Commerce specifically. And this is where Olaf showed his vision, and that is we need to give extra service to our merchants, to our customers, and we don't only give them our API, but also a ready-made integration for OS Commerce. And the biggest part in this, or the most important part of this for Olaf, was we need to build that in-house. We cannot let some other company that we don't know, that we don't feel build that. We need to do that in-house. We need to know the guys, and we need to keep that development close. And this is something that to this day is still embedded in Olaf's mind, and he will not be able to change it in whatever way possible. So that is OS Commerce, real game changer. Of course, when you have something that is such a game changer, others will follow. So Magento came on the scene. We had WooCommerce, PrestaShop, ZenCard, all these open source systems. And yeah, there was a moment where MultiSafePay was making OS Commerce plugins, but all these competitors came on the market, and delivering an integration as a service was not an extra step you would take. It became obligatory to do. So you could not do it. You would lose customers. Of course, plugins were made all in-house, and well, almost 2 decades later, you end up with something like this. You end up with a whole host of things that you need to support, that you need to build. You name it, we need to have it. And that made a very difficult situation, especially because OS Commerce was relatively easy. If you look at Magento 2, Magento 2 is hard. Everybody knows, everybody that works with Magento 2 knows it's hard. So we needed to do something different within MultiSafePay. We couldn't go on with the group of developers that we had that need to know anything or everything about every platform that we supported. So, well, I need to give credit to my colleague Berend, but I would like to pretend it was my idea. We came up with the idea to get a dedicated Magento 2 developer. And that's something that is really hard to get in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, everybody wants Magento 2 developers. So what did we do? We decided to get a young developer that was not Magento 2 yet. And we decided to make him a Magento master. So how did we do that? In the Netherlands, we have a couple of companies, but we know a very good one, Yirio, and they train people in becoming acquainted with Magento until becoming experts in Magento. And we decided to get a relatively young developer and train him using this company into being a good Magento 2 developer. And we made it. So this is all thanks to, well, mostly thanks to Vinod's hard work, but also Jisse from Yirio training him until what he became today. We now can say we have a certified Magento 2 developer at MultiSafePay. Super cool. We were super happy. So at that moment in time, I need to tell you something about Magento 2, how it works, how our plugin taps into it. At that time, we had a Magento 2 plugin that wasn't up to par. It was made for Magento 2.0, and Magento changed a lot. The whole core payment structure changed a lot, so we needed to do something new. But first, let's look at Magento. So Magento is basically this system, core system, with a layer of communication around it. And this communication layer is for different customers in mind, different clients in mind. So if you look at it, we have one that is actually for the merchant itself. So the merchant needs to be able to interact with Magento. Then we have the storefront that is for the customers, the people that actually do the shopping and go through the checkout for your web shop. And you have something for the machines. So that is a REST API. That's where your yeah, you name it, whatever, your bol.com, your Amazon, all those platforms that talk to your web shop, they will talk to the REST API. So we had that, and now we need to incorporate MultiSafePay in there. So to add this MultiSafePay layer to your Magento, we have a plugin, and that plugin has, for example, gateway configurations in your admin HTML. It has the payment method selection in your storefront. It does the stored credit cards or tokenization in your storefront. And for the REST API, we have, for example, changing the order status when a payment status has changed. So that's something we built. And because we are now focusing on PWA, I want to show you a couple of screenshots that are related to the storefront, because that's actually the thing that we are replacing. So if we look at the payment process, then we have a couple of payment methods there. And this is, luckily, this is all default Magento. So Magento comes to our plugin and they say, this is the order. Which payment methods do you have for this order? And then we make a list and we return it to Magento. A little bit more difficult becomes when we want to do the stored payment methods. So we implemented it back then using our own tokenization method. And these are a couple of the payment methods that you can reuse without doing anything. In this case, it's credit cards, but it could also be done with, for example, Ideal. And with Ideal, we also have, this is the next step in our integrations, a bank selection directly in the checkout. And this is all not core Magento. This is all changes that we made. So if we look at how we can improve on this, we need to look at the difficult decision we had to make. But we had a very big lucky moment making this decision, and that was for us actually Corona. Because the Magento trainer that I was just talking about, Jisse, he did not have anything to do. So we called him up and said, Jisse, do you want to come work with us? And that was a very happy moment for us. He said yes. So we decided we are going to make a new Magento 2 integration. And this new Magento 2 integration, we need to connect it to MultiSafePay. How are we going to do it? Okay, we have 20 plugins. Let's take the part that every plugin has in common. This part, put it in a separate SDK. We make a core module around it. That's where we put all the Magento core specific stuff. Then if you want to do communication, sure, add these separate modules. If you want to switch between MSI and catalog module, sure, you need to switch between these modules. And we put this in a composer package and you can download it right away. It feels like one plugin, but it's actually 5. So that was a good moment for us. We have released this, but we were still very afraid of the Magento Commerce, of the Magento Vault, all things that were really hard for us to support with only one Magento developer and one freelancer working for us. So that was our second lucky moment. We got Stanislaw on board, who is our product owner Magento 2 at the moment, but he also helps out with development. And well, I want to take you guys back to that previous image that I showed you about the onion we called Magento. Magento was also not sitting still, and they came up with GraphQL and a default way to fetch the payment data. So I showed you the list of payment methods before. This now can be done through GraphQL. And this is something that with our new plugin and our extra development capacity was something that we could pick up and put in our new plugin. So what we did here is we added a GraphQL module. We added a ScandiPWA module. And that way we could communicate now directly to the ScandiPWA installation. So if you have a Magento with ScandiPWA, you install our modules, then you're done. Then it works out of the box. Super cool. And this is exactly what we're looking for as MultiSafePay, companies that create this extensibility. And Roland's already mentioned it. It was already mentioned before that as well. Scandi is really looking for getting those extensibility features, getting the plugin system ready so that everybody can join in and makes it easy, plug and play without writing any lines of code. So we are really happy about that. So that's basically how we build it. I know it's a bit quick. If you want to know more, look on our GitHub or look us up, talk to us. For now, I would also like to thank Web Elephant. This is actually a Magento agency that also decided to dive into the ScandiPWA integrations, and they just released their first web shop with us. And also they're planning to do at least 20 more this year. So I'm really looking forward to that. And in conclusion, all I can say, how do we keep up? We have awesome developers. I really feel that way. I love my developers. They have a lot of focus, a lot of dedication, and strong partnerships, of course, really important. Quality solutions that they offer, but so that's the agencies, but also the partners like ScandiPWA, Scandi itself. And you need to invest in the right things. And it sounds a bit weird, of course, but we see a lot of things out there, a lot of things that we can integrate with. But I feel that this is a unique solution where we will actually get a return of investment. I feel that a lot of solutions, if we would integrate with it, we don't get any return of investment at all. And the most important part, Olaf's philosophy, in-house development is key in all of this. You cannot do this when your developers are somewhere else. The way we do the marketing around it, the way we do the research, I can only do it because I know these guys. They are 5 minutes drive away from my house. I can see them in the office. I can see them on Zoom. Yeah, that's how we do it. So basically, I said it many times. If you want to know more, email me. Email Stanislaw. Look us up on GitHub, and that's all for now.